everyone, today we're going to be looking at this. It is a Tenda Nova MW5s. It is basically a home mesh Wi-Fi system.
But first, here's a message from our sponsors. So, what is Mesh?
Okay, so before we jump into the product, let's have a brief description of what Mesh is and what it does in layman terms. Basically, Mesh is a way of extending your wireless system. It's a bit better than having like your standard wireless extenders, what you just plug into a wall or whatever in your house, and it's supposed to team up with your router, and then everything works, or should work, and in a lot of cases never works, or gives you even worse internet than you had in the first place. This works entirely different. So basically what you have is usually 2 or 3 nodes, but you can actually add more in, which look like these. And basically you plug one of the nodes directly into your router, and that will be classed as the master node of such, and then you position 2 other nodes around your house, and what happens, it sends basically, the first node will take over from basically the wireless on your router and will send the signal to the other nodes, so from that one to that one, that one to that one, but these 2 can talk to each other and so forth, and basically they all work together as a team, so it spreads the signal out everywhere. But even if one of these nodes is turned off or gets disconnected for whatever reason, the other 2 nodes will compensate and work together. So in basics, you could walk from one side of your house or office or building or whatever it is to the other side. First of all, you'd be connected to the one node, and then you'd be connected to the second, then the third, or however you've got it set up. But you would stay connected to the internet all the way through. You wouldn't actually notice it changing between the nodes. You wouldn't see a disconnect and a reconnect. You wouldn't have to do it manually or tell it to connect to different things. It works as one whole huge system, so everything works together. And the way these nodes work as well, usually it allows you to connect up to so many certain devices to each node, and I think in this case it's 20 items per node, so that's 60 devices in your household you can have connected to the internet at once. So that's pretty good. We've tested and used these things in the past, and we've had very good experiences. Some kits from certain manufacturers may not be easy to set up, but other ones, or at least from Tenda's perspective, which is what we're reviewing today, the ones we have done in the past have been extremely easy to set up.
Let's take a look at the packaging.
Okay then, so let's have a look at this. So it's the Tenda Nova. This is the MW5s. It's the 3 pack, which means 3 nodes. It covers up to 300 meters square, so that's quite a good distance. It's actually the same distance, if I'm right, as the MW3, which is the little brother of this, but it's a bit less than the MW6, which is the big brother of this, you could say. It works with high-speed broadband, so with 2 gigabit ports on there, it says. That means if you've got internet what's more than 100 megabytes, it'll be able to use it to its full potential. For example, the MW3, which was a slightly cheaper model, would only allow internet speeds up to around about 100 megabytes. Don't get me wrong, if you had faster internet it'd still work, but the internet signal would only transfer at around about 100 megabytes per second. But this one should, in theory, according to this, work a lot faster, and we're going to test that out with our internet in a few minutes, which is 350 megabytes roughly, and we'll see if it's able to cope with that. As it says there, up to 300 meters squares of Wi-Fi coverage. Automatic networking makes setup a breeze, which, if it's like the previous ones we've done in the past, it's basically plug in and away you go. They're very, very simple. But let's have a look at the rest of the box. Top, it just says Tenda. The bottom, you've got some bits of information, obviously all your marks and everything like that. The sides, barcodes. It also says AC 1200, which is basically dual band. On this size, it gives you a bit more specifications on there. So it's saying wireless standards up to 5 GHz, 2.4 GHz, that's your dual band. Frequency band is 2.4 GHz and 5 again. Data rate is 5 GHz is 867 megabytes per second. That's on the 5 GHz range, and up to 300 megabytes per second on the 2.4 GHz. Network security is WPA or WPA2 PSK, if that means anything to you. Some people it will, a lot of people it won't. So you've got your hardware, which tells you about the mesh and the ports and everything else on there. Reset button, your dimensions, which is 91mm by 91mm by 93mm. That's each individual node. It shows you roughly how the setup works. So basically you have the 3 nodes at different positions in your house, and it spreads the signal all the way around. It tells you about powerful wall penetration, so basically it means it can send the signal through your walls and everything really good. And it also gives you a purchase guide on here, which is what is interesting. It mentions the MW2 model and the MW12. To my knowledge, those are yet to be released models, or at least in this country, so you can actually have a look, see which one's best for you.
The unboxing.
Now, the retail value of this item in the UK is £119.99. I'll put links in the description where you can get it from. I'll also put US links as well, but for 120 quid, it's a pretty good price. Don't get me wrong, it's more expensive than these network extenders, which, as I said, hardly ever work, but for £120, if it fixes your whole Wi-Fi system in your house and adds all these devices, that's pretty good. So inside the box, okay, big orange sticker here, or notice should I say. Tips: please start from the leftmost node, which I'm guessing is that one there, and use the included 12 volt 1 amp power adapter to power it on. Because there are 3 different power adapters in there, if I read right from the box, so you need to make sure you use the right one for that, otherwise you're not giving it enough power. On top of that, we've got, looks like your quick installation guide, which actually looks quite big. I'm guessing a lot of it is not in English. Yep, so you've got your English, the instructions are there, so it's actually that little bit. And it shows you a nice picture diagram with each of the steps there as well. You have got all your other different languages, including French, Spanish and so forth on there. And on the other side, you've got even more. So there's quite a lot on there. So let's move that out of the way. So also in here, all your terms and conditions and so forth, general public licenses and so forth. So information you probably never read anyway. So let's have a look what we've got. So you've got the 3 nodes, and we can see from here it says start from this node. So that's going to be the primary node. So that's where we start from. So if I don't break it, dropping it everywhere. Then you've got 2 other nodes. We'll open them up in a second, and inside there you have got 3 power cables in there, including an Ethernet. So I'm guessing the one on the left is going to be the 12 volt cable, which is here. Yeah, so 12V 1 amp, so that's this one. Might be good if they actually had a sticker on it, just so it didn't confuse some people. Use this one with this one, primary power or something like that. Hopefully most people will understand how to use it. And then the other adapters, it doesn't mention that on there. Okay, so we'll have a look at the nodes.
Let's take a closer look.
So as you can see, some people call them, say they're a bit like Rubik's cubes, sort of slightly bigger, but it gives you a rough idea. Again, they are roughly 9 centimeters each way, so looks pretty straightforward. So on the top, obviously, it's just got the sticker on there. It says the Nova. It looks like a little LED there. On the back, you've got your power connection, which obviously goes in there. You've got 2 Ethernet connections on there, one for LAN and W for WLAN, and then a reset switch as well. On the bottom, you've also got all the Wi-Fi details as well, so it tells you the model number, the power and so forth, but it also tells you obviously the SSID, which is your network name, and the password on there, which you can actually change if you wished at a later time. That would be what you would be connecting up to if you just set it up out of the box. And it's also got the IQ code on there, which you can scan on a device, which should automatically connect you up. So I'm guessing the other nodes, let's just open those up, are gonna look pretty much the same. So yeah, same details on the bottom. Yeah, so everything looks the same on there. Yeah, even the same Wi-Fi code, so they are definitely all paired up together. They don't need setting up to work together or anything like that. So in theory, we should just plug the first one in, which I'm going to do in a minute, and see how easy it is to set up. Apparently they also do a MW5, this is the MW5s. The straightforward 5, I think to my knowledge, is identical to this, but apart from the two nodes where they can actually plug directly into a plug socket without having an adapter cable.
So let's set this up.
Okay, so we've got all three devices here. They are not yet plugged in or anything like that, so they're just sitting there ready to be set up. So we'll go through that in a minute. First thing Tenda asks you to do on their manual is download the app. I actually find that as an optional. You only really need to download that if you want to change your Wi-Fi signals, block people and on the network, and set restrictions and stuff like that. If you just want to use it as a wireless network and you don't want to change any of the settings or the passwords, you could actually just plug them all in. But the first thing you'll need to do, otherwise, is if when you want to set this up, is get your Tenda Nova, the primary node, plug in your Ethernet into the WLAN connection, and then plug your power cable in. So let's get my phone on. Okay, so let's go into the settings. Actually, let's do a speed test first. So if I do a speed test, just to show you how fast our internet is here, and then you can compare it. So let's just see how fast our internet says it's running at. So that's running through, and this is our internet going through our Virgin router. It's saying we're running at around about 360, 370. It was a bit higher than I thought it was. It must have gone up recently, but about 383 megabytes. So that's the speed directly from the router. So these, don't get me wrong, probably may not reach that higher speed, but they may do. But the idea of it is to expand your wireless signal more so, but we'll see how that goes. So let me connect up to this new Nova. Here it is, it's picking it up, Nova E920, and there will be a password written on the bottom, which I need to put in, which is, there we go. Join. It's as simple as that's connecting it up. So basically the power cable is plugged into it, the Ethernet cable is plugged directly in our router. Simple as that. Little green light comes on the front, says it's working. So let's just have a quick look at what sort of speed we're getting now if I redo the tests. It's going high, it's getting over 300. 360, 370, surprisingly it's got near enough the same speed as directly coming from the router, which obviously it's not going to speed up the internet, but it shows that it's able to transmit speeds of at least 377 megabytes per second, and in theory it should be able to go up to just over 800. Now if you wanted to set up the other nodes, the basics is you just get your power cable and plug in. Obviously you'd plug these in different locations around your house or business or wherever you set them up, and when you walk from one side of the business to the other, your phone or your device will automatically swap between connections between the two streamlessly, so it won't actually affect it in any formal way. So you just carry on working and not worry about it again. You can see that little green light on there. That means you're connected. One thing, if it's similar to the other nodes, what we've come across before from Tenda, the Novas, is if they lose connection or they're not connected to the internet or your cable comes unplugged, the light turns red. Okay, and let's connect this up again and do the speed test. So all the nodes are all plugged in and working at the moment. And you can see the speeds going above 300, 330, 340, 350. So as you can see, all the nodes seem to be working at high speed. 370, 380, 381. So that was roughly 1 or 2 megabytes less than direct off the router. And more than likely that was the fluke speed, and it'll probably be slower. Now, if these were the MW3s, which did not have that gigabit connection on the back like this one does, then the internet speed would probably max out at around about 100, possibly less, maybe more like 80 megabytes. So that's the difference between basically these and the MW3s, is basically the run faster, and that's the basics to it. And it's probably slightly better penetration for the signal and wireless and stuff like that. What I'm going to do now is actually go set these up at my actual home, and we'll see how they actually perform.
Home setup and testing. So at home we tested it with PCs, printers, Amazon Prime Stick and phones. Basically everything you would expect in a normal home environment, including printers. Due to our house being long and thin, the way we set the nodes up was actually sort of in a straight line. So the first one's connected directly to our router, then we had another one in our hallway, and then another one in the office area, and that way it's stretched around the whole house, because basically the house is basically quite long, but it is quite thin. The first test we did was with the Ethernet connected to the router, and we got 72.8 megabytes. Yes, that was a long cable, but obviously we have plenty of them at hand for testing purposes. The second test we did was connecting wirelessly directly to the router without using the nodes. And our internet speed dropped to 55.02 megabytes per second, which is a good drop in performance. So what we did now was connect the nodes up. So on the third test, basically we tested how the wireless was using the Tenda Novas. The speed increased up to 65.2 megabytes, so roughly about 10 megabytes per second faster than not using the Novas. So that was actually pretty good. And the fourth test, which was even better, was what we did was basically set the third node up as a pass-through, which basically means we connected the PC in the office, the one I'm using actually at this moment, directly to the third Nova. And that way the signal was basically transmitted directly from our router to the first node, then wirelessly to the second node, then wirelessly to the third node, and then via the Ethernet cable from the third node into our PC. So it got rid of basically the wireless connection on our actual PC by connecting directly up to one of the nodes, and that actually increased the speed up to 70.75 megabytes per second, which is pretty much not far off the same speed we got connecting to the router directly with the Ethernet. We also tested the Nova network in other places in our house with different devices, including iPhones and laptops and so forth. In some areas we did actually struggle to get a signal normally from our normal BT router, but when using connecting up to the Nova network, once it had been set up, we were able to connect up at pretty much full speed, and generally most of the speeds were running at around about that 60-65 megabytes per second. Where if we were able to connect up to the BT router, in some cases it was dropping below 20, if even connecting at all. And at all the times we were connected up to the Novas, the signal strength always stayed at maximum strength. The app.
The app on the Nova was pretty self-explanatory to use. You basically scan the barcode on your phone and it will take you to your app store and let you download the app, or you can just do a search on your app store.
Basically, it sets it all up automatically if you've got it already plugged in, or it'll run you through how to set everything up. It'll let you choose your own wireless name and password if you don't want to use the ones what come with the box, which is always recommended you choose your own, but obviously you always use secure passwords. Once it's set up, it will let you do many things. You've got your firmware update, you can set maintenance schedules where it reboots itself and checks to see if there's any updates or anything like that. You can add an account which allows other people to access the device to change settings if needs be. You can monitor your upload and download speed as well as how many devices are connected. You can actually access each individual device as well and block it if you wished. It tells you how to add extra nodes, which is pretty straightforward. You just scan the barcode on them in the app and it adds them to the network. It's very, very easy to do. It tells you all about the information, what the lights mean on the front and all that. You can access the settings for each individual node if you wish. But the settings menu's got everything on there you'll need. I can't think of anything what was missing off the top of our heads, including obviously changing your wireless settings and names. You can even set up a guest network and put a temporary time limit on it. So if you've got guests coming around, you can say, yeah, you can get on it for 2 hours and that's it. You've got obviously parental control, and you've got settings for your internet if you needed to change those. It's also got features for gamers, so basically it prioritises gamers so it doesn't interrupt them when they're playing games and stuff like that. Fast roaming, which allows you to move around your house or building unrestricted. You've also got advanced functions like port forwarding along with UPnP and obviously DHCP server settings. So you've got everything on there you really need. You can actually update the Nova's firmware on there as well pretty easily. It's just a press of a button. It takes about 5 minutes for it to do it automatically. And it goes through and updates the Novas so they're all up to date. They've got the latest security and any extra features that may come out. The conclusion. So before we get to the actual final conclusion, let's just list a few of the positives on this thing. The main standout point, it basically does its job with minimal fuss on setup, so you can basically plug it in and away you go. You don't even have to change any settings if you didn't really want to and you just wanted a wireless network which was going to work. But obviously you do have those functions to actually go in there and change the settings. Other positives are the price. It's more cost effective than buying unreliable network extenders. It's also reliable. If one Nova goes down, the others carry on working. And you can actually add more nodes to the network if you wished. Also, the style and looks are pretty good. Unfortunately, it only comes in one colour, which is white. So we're down to the negatives, and to be honest I can only really think of one, and it's only a minor thing in all honesty, and it's the length of the Ethernet cable and possibly the power cables. I would have liked to see them a bit longer, maybe 2 meters longer, even potentially 3 on the master node, because in some cases the way people have got houses set up and so forth, you have to position things in strange and weird and wonderful places. But overall, would I recommend this product? The answer is hell yeah. And because of that, we're giving this the Hell Yeah award as well as a Platinum award as well, because it's an absolutely brilliant piece of kit which is ideal for anyone who has network issues. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. Don't forget to press the subscribe button over here. That way you'll get all the latest news and all the reviews we do on a weekly basis. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.